All right, good afternoon, morning, or night, wherever and whenever you are. This is another episode of Text2, episode 22, and welcome back. The show that discusses the best of everything technology, computers, home theater, gaming, science, and more. And I am Mark Murrin.
And I am Admiral James Kenny, back from the depths of the deep.
Yes, it has been quite a while, hasn't it? Since we
It's been a long time.
last did it here. But we are back. We are ready to go here, talking about Windows 8 again and some other fun stuff on this episode. Some new stuff too in the RC and flight segment that we'll talk about, as you'll see here in a little bit here. But at any rate, welcome back. Welcome back to the show, James. Let's get right into the good stuff.
Thank you.
And let's move on and see what's cooking in the tech stew this week and fire up the news stories.
Program complete. Enter when ready. Complete. Enter when ready.
And moving on to the big story of this week. Fresh story, hot off the presses. That is of the Windows Phone 8 having a launch date. Mary Jo Foley is reporting from sources that October 29th will be the launch of Windows Phone 8, San Francisco or Los Angeles. Handsets won't be available until November. Microsoft will hold a launch event for Windows 8 and Surface RT on the 25th of October. Photos of new Lumia phones have leaked via the EV Leaks Twitter account, who has gained tons of viewers in less than a week. Put pictures of a Lumia 920 and an 820 up on the web. The 920 is going to sport a 4.5-inch display as well as PureView camera with a 41 megapixel sensor meant to eliminate the visual noise found in most smartphone cameras. Excuse me, but you gotta wonder though, is the sensor on that, it's probably not very big. We don't have any details on that, but they say giant megapixels does not always mean great picture unless you have a decent sensor to go with it, but that remains to be seen. Lumia 920 plans will be sold exclusively by AT&T, and the Lumia 820 comes in at least 7 colors. 7 delicious colors, and a 4.3-inch display, and will run on AT&T and T-Mobile's network. And so Nokia has a lot riding on Windows Phone 8 offerings and a tight relationship with Microsoft. They've done well on Windows Phone 7.5. We'll see how they do here. Lagging behind here, of course, no handsets till November, and we're still waiting on the SDK. It's almost September. They said there would be one out by the end of the summer, and where are you, SDK? Of course, there has been leaked versions of the SDK out there. But no official announcement yet. Probably expect that at the Nokia announcement here. I think it's on September 5th for these models will probably be officially revealed. And that doesn't leave developers much time to develop new fancy things like multi-core apps or encryption-based apps, which Microsoft is touting with Windows Phone 8. And there will be more announcements coming around that September 5th date, I'm sure, maybe even the SDK. Android has about 450,000 apps. iOS 400,000 or more, and apps are going to be a key to the success of Windows Phone 8. For Microsoft to kind of get into this game here, they really need to get this SDK out so developers have time to develop some good stuff. Of course, all this will probably get trumped by the iPhone 5 release. It'll probably happen just days after the Nokia announcement. Moving on to other news, Office 2013 won't come until January or February of 2013. Office for iPad, not until 2013, maybe because Microsoft is focusing on Windows 8 and RT first. Kinect is going to drop its price from $110 to $110 from $150. Windows Server 2012 will be available on MSDN and TechNet on September 4th. It's actually been out there since August 5th, I believe, was the release date for Windows 8. A little bit strange this time around, but that's the way they're doing things. And Windows Server 2012 is a new operating system that is going to require a domain this time, unlike previous versions. So that might affect some people from jumping right onto Windows Server 2012. A lot of home users actually use that or the home version of Server. And we also saw that Microsoft changed their logo for the first time in 25 years. And a sort of a Metro looking logo. And it, let's see if I can pull up the new logo this time here. Windows, or Microsoft, drew quite a bit of buzz on the web. And in this picture here, which should work, yes indeed.
Hey folks, this is Ross with The Verge. We're here live at IFA 2012 in Berlin, and we are checking out...
There we go. You can see the new logo here in this window. There it is, the Microsoft logo with the Metro style. These colors actually represent certain products. I think red is the Windows Phone 8. I might have that wrong, but they do. I think blue might be the Metro. There's the Windows 8 logo, and then you can see the difference over the years. 1975. This is the first time in 25 years they've changed anything. From 1987 until 2012, they stuck with this logo, which uses a special font where the letters are joined, the F and the T. It's their own font, but a lot of people didn't like it. Some did. It's a logo. It looks sharp to me. But there you go. And that was that on the Windows logo, the first time in 25 years. But Facebook had updated their iOS app, and first time in a while. And as I've talked about on here before, the app on iOS is pretty crappy, and they've done a good job. Aesthetically, there aren't that many changes in the new 5.0 iOS app, but it's faster. It opens faster. It's built on iOS native programming instead of HTML5, and it opens faster. Pages open when you click on page links. Click on the URLs. They come up in about 10 seconds this time instead of a minute or two, which literally is how long they would take for me before. Still can't do things like filtering status updates from certain people or emailing links that from a URL that are in there. You have to first open them in Chrome or Safari or whatever you're using on iOS. Sort of annoying. Maybe they'll focus on some usability enhancements for the next version. Now Samsung showed off some Windows 8 products at the ITA convention in Berlin. ITA 2012, a 10.1 inch Windows RT tablet with a dockable keyboard, and we have a little video demo. We'll jump onto this and take a look. And incidentally, this tablet should auto-rotate. It should have a gyro ability. They're supposed to have that feature, but maybe because it's a demo early edition, it did not. Anyways, moving on, Samsung showed off Windows 8 products at the ITA convention in Berlin, ITA 2012. And a 10.1 inch tablet was shown off there. RT tablet with a dockable keyboard. In fact, I have a video clip here of the item in question.
Hey folks, this is Ross with The Verge. We're here live at IFA 2012 in Berlin, and we're checking out the Samsung Adaptive Tab. More importantly, however, what we're looking at is a build 9200, the final build of Windows RT.
For some of us.
Something we haven't really got a good chance to look at. So we're going to kind of dive into
I can only see a corner.
Details, and kind of the classic
basically
Windows 8 version. All right, so as you can see, we've got this pretty much standard start menu. We can go to the desktop mode still, load up File Explorer.
The Verge,
it's the same as you've seen in
tested
the
this
x86
RT
version.
tablet.
In fact,
and
as
you can see, he's going into desktop mode and trying to compare, you know, how it feels with with your fingers and the keyboard and moving around and explorer and so forth.
obviously
the whole point of
it's
RT
not
is
entirely
to
optimized for a touch experience. And a lot of what you're going to see in the desktop
use
mode
Metro.
it's still
so the
better
demo
catered,
video
better
is in a
suited
way
for
sort of
a
silly
keyboard and
because
mouse,
he's not
but
even
it is
testing the
there.
Metro portion of it.
All right, and you can see the apps. You got the basic apps. You've got the Microsoft Office. We'll go back to
What
that in a
size
second.
tablet is that?
And then you got your Windows
That
accessories,
is
your
a
notepads, your paints.
10.1-inch
And unfortunately
tablet.
for
Now
that,
he's in the Metro app
it's
selection
basically
area.
they're all the standard x86.
He's trying out Excel.
You go with the classic mode. You can still test this out, no auto crack.
And
that goes the same for Microsoft
trying to
Office
manipulate the
2013.
grid and so
We're looking
forth
at the
here.
preview versions right now.
It comes with the Office preview
here,
as of right now.
new
Office
work,
13 preview is the
new
way
Excel
it's
sheet.
stated.
Do my taxes and make charts and stuff. It's still
Did they
more touch-friendly.
announce any
Obviously,
pricing
menus
yet?
that come
No
up,
pricing
kinda
is,
use these.
at least not as of earlier today
easy
when
to
I
touch
was
for the
gathering
most part.
information.
It is
No
a little
pricing yet.
unwieldy here.
You got to believe
unfortunately.
it's going to be
Like, I'm
around
not gonna be able to
$500
very
probably
easily
for an RT tablet to price compare with
push my way to print
with
view.
the iPad.
It's an imperfect mode. Clearly, this
kill
is
that
still
stream.
more optimized for
He goes
keyboard
on and
mouse,
he
as is with everything
tries out
in kind of the
the
desktop mode. If you hold your finger down, you can get over to the screen resolution.
tries out the to change the screen orientation. He's using the desktop area to change the screen orientation with his fingers, trying to manipulate the screen. And I can show this here actually. Let's go back into my little VM. If you go into, this would be the same on a tablet. Take this out full screen here. We are in Windows 8 here. This is Windows 8. Of course, here's the regular desktop. So in his instance, he was trying to change the screen resolution by going in here with his fingers and then, to change the rotation to make it portrait. That's kludgy. Okay, you don't want to do it that way. You want to go into the charms, go into settings, and if I can remember where it's at, it's somewhere here. Let me get that out of the way. There we go. Settings. It might be under devices. I know it's here. You can do this somewhere in here. Personalization or something like that. Have you had a chance to install Windows 8 yet?
No, not yet. Can't decide which PC to install it on because I have my desktop, my wife's desktop, a laptop, and then I have another desktop that I use as a server or as a media server. So I don't know which one I want to install it on yet. So in due time. In due time.
Well, at any rate, I am pretty sure if I could find it, there's a spot here in Metro Land where you can change the screen size or screen proportions and switch it to landscape or whatnot. But so this is Windows 8, and we're gonna.
Can you do you still have the keyboard shortcuts for that?
I do. Well, there's the Windows key P. You can switch to. That won't do it though.
I think it's what is it? Control Alt arrow or something. Shift, maybe Control Window arrow or something like that. Something like that. One of those.
They made things a little bit hard to find in here, frankly, if you ask me. At times, that's one of my complaints. Overall, though, I really like Windows 8. I've been using it, the RTM now, since August 5th. And, yeah.
Have you been able to play any games on it?
Yeah, I tried out, what did I try out? I don't remember. I tried out one of the games that they had on there. There's a pinball game, and I tried out some other little combat game. It looked pretty good. I was kind of surprised. But let me just get this out of the way. There we go. All right, so let's talk Windows 8 here. And hey, look at that. You got a screen in front of your face. Okay, you still have a screen in front of your face. Why is there still? Oh, because I'm blocking it.
Because I'm a daisy. Of course.
Yeah, it helps if I move it over there. Keep forgetting. All right, so at any rate, RT is coming. Hopefully it'll catch on. Some people actually were freaking out because they thought there would be no codec support on Windows RT tablets because some of the tables say no codec support. Well, they're talking about x86 codecs because, of course, it only runs WinRT-based applications, Metro apps, WinRT. And there will be codec support in RT, just not the ones we're used to hearing about. A note on licensing, I don't know if you caught the news, but Microsoft is now going to offer a personal license for home builders for the first time ever. So if you build your PC as it stands today, you're expected to buy a full retail copy of Windows because the fine print says individual use of the OEMs is prohibited. Of course, I don't know how many people actually follow that, but they should technically. The OEM has always been the cheaper of the bunch. Now Windows 8 will have an alternative, and that is the personal offer, the Pulse B as they call it, intended to be the main operating system of a single system which is meant for personal use on in physical or a virtual machine. Final pricing has yet to be set, but you can be sure it should be pretty close to the OEM in pricing. And they've made some changes. You can look on TextDo. I have the whole EULA on, well, most of it anyway, on there, and some comparisons between OEM and retail. OEM says run only one copy on the computer from which you got the software, whereas the personal says that he grants you the right to install that one copy on one computer. The licensed computer is the operating system on a computer that you build for personal use, or as an additional operating system running on a local virtual machine, or a separate partition, subject to the restrictions under some other jargon. They've also simplified the jargon, making it like a Q&A kind of format. And there was some people that thought that this meant that you couldn't install it under, say, Linux and then virtualization there, but that's not really the case. In particular, it says you may not install the software on a computer that is running a non-genuine operating system, Windows operating system, but that just means that it's not a pirated Windows copy. It doesn't mean that it can't run on a different Mac or Linux or Unix in a VM. So some new options available to system builders out there. And so digging into some of the additions, you've got the Pro, we've talked about Enterprise, and the standard retail version. The retail and the Pro are one disk, basically, one bit code, if you will, one set of bits. Then there's Enterprise. So if you want Enterprise on your machine and you're in a business, because you have a domain, that's the whole point of Enterprise, plus it has some extra cool features, and you already have Pro, well, you can't just upgrade. You have to wipe out the machine completely, which is annoying.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
But so I would think that most businesses will probably opt for Enterprise, especially in the software assurance category. That's kind of the dangle in front of you to do software assurance with the Enterprise plan. And I know we're going to start installing it, and I'm going with Enterprise on our machines. It adds the USB to go feature, which is only available on Enterprise. They're not going to put that on Pro. That means you can take a stick, and I think it has to be USB 3 though, in a certain category, and you can put it in a tablet or another machine and boot right to Windows. And with that spec, it can boot in as little as 15 seconds, which is pretty phenomenal.
Wow.
So
wow. That's on a regular hard disk. On a regular hard disk drive.
On a USB stick, flash type.
Oh, okay.
So if you got a company and you want to give out an operating system that has certain applications to a person running a tablet or a regular laptop or something like that, they can boot right to that and then have everything ready to go right there. The other advantage of Windows Enterprise in businesses is the remote apps and remote VPN. It has a special kind of VPN that connects to your computer and barks at you. It says you are just like being there because you have your dog there.
Exactly. Down killer.
So there's some advantages to Enterprise for businesses. Most will probably stick with Pro, I would guess. But the other thing is that side loading of apps are supposed to only work on Enterprise, but there's some speculation that actually works on Pro. So side loading meaning you take an app and you put it on the machine without going through the App Store. That's supposed to only work on Enterprise, but it appears it's probably going to work on Pro, at least in some initial reading and testing I've done at this point.
Do you have to do some finagling, or straightforward? Just straightforward.
There's a whole document on it on TechNet, and it's long and involved, and it's more than we can really get into right now. But I think it can be done. Let's just put it that way. So I can dive into a little bit of this here. Hold on a second. Let me tell you what I don't like and what I do like. So I'm going to move this over here.
Was that one of those very large beers you were growing in your garden?
Yes. Water beers. Oh, yeah.
Water beer.
Okay, I think I got it here. Here we are. We're back in Windows 8. So Windows 8, there are some tips and tricks here, and that's basically the subject of the show, the first segment, and really the only real segment here. But you can't use the snipping tool in Metro Land. So if you snip the screen using the snipping tool, which I'm sure we all love, which I do actually, you can't snip what's in your Metro. You're out of luck. And there's no Metro snipping. That's what I don't like. That's one thing. What I do like, though, is that you go to the lower left corner, of course, to get to the start screen, or you go over here into the charms area to get to the start screen. And you can get to the start screen by that lower left corner on any one of your screens. So if you have 3 screens, on any one of those screens, you move to the lower left corner, you have your start screen on that screen. It doesn't come back to your main screen unless you're on your main screen when you click it. And that's kind of advantageous. If you don't want your main screen to get filled up with a start screen, well, you just go to your other screen and go down to the lower left and boom, come back and forth between start screen and your desktop or whatever app you have open. The taskbar spans across multiple screens. Can't see that in this example because it's only one screen, but it spans across, single layer on the other screens. So if you're being messaged by somebody or get emails and you have a full screen Metro app on the main screen, you'll see the message, yay, which before you really couldn't. If you were in a full screen app, which there weren't really that many full screen apps before. What else? Remote desktop features are kind of cool. If you remote to a machine, you're presented with a little menu bar at the top, a pull down menu that has get to the charms and different things like that from the taskbar of the remote desktop window, which is kind of helpful. And that's only on Windows 8 to Windows 8. It won't do that for Windows 7, obviously. It'll also show your connection speed and so forth and how good the quality is. I like the start screen. I don't know what you think because you probably haven't used it much, but I think it's pretty effective at putting, in this case it's just random stuff, but on my main machines I have this organized by category. And check this out. If you're in your screen, you have these groups. You can right click, if I can remember how to do it. Nope, that wasn't it. I got to go to all apps. You go to all apps. Oh no, it's not all apps, sorry. You zoom out. Remembering this at first is a little tricky. You zoom out, and then you right-click the group, and you can name it. So we'll name this group My First Group, like that. And you can do this one, Group 2. And then we go back in by clicking, and you have your groups named. There's My First Group and Group 2, which is pretty cool because I have categories for everything because I'm weird like that, and I group all my icons in there by category. I don't put every icon that's on the system in there. I leave that up for all apps. In all apps you see everything known to mankind, and as you can see it groups everything under these folders, which we've talked about this before. They map out to your start menu under your user profile or the program data location, either one or a combination of the two. if you have subfolders, you're not going to see the subfolders from that program data hard drive location. It merges them all in under the one title, all the icons. And if you have 50 icons, like for Flight Simulator or something like that, and 3 of them say README, you're not going to know which README is there, is which one. So I went through via Explorer, in my case on my other machine, and renamed a whole bunch of them. You don't have to do that, but I did it so that if I ever need to go on all apps under my Flight Sim folder and find something, and there's 4 icons that look almost identical, manual 1, manual 2, manual 3, I know what manual they are, because otherwise you're not going to know. So the all apps is literally all apps. That's what it is. And start screen is just what you use most frequently. And I like to go and move my icons up here into this first area and have a quick launch, which group 2 is, and move them over into here. But you can also have 2 icons on this whole start screen at the same time. So for instance, Skype, if I right click Skype and I go to open file location, now we found the program data location on the hard drive where Skype shortcut is. I right click that and I can say pin to start. Oh, it's not showing it here, of course. Let's try something different. Let's try Wirecast. Wirecast, right click, pin to start. Okay, now I already had a Wirecast icon in there. And now there's the original Wirecast icon. Now I have another one way back down here. Now if I want to move it all the way to the beginning, instead of dragging it through all these icons, I raise it up above. And I do up and over and then back down into group 2. And so there I've created a sort of quick launch of the same icon. Of course, this may seem redundant to some people, cluttering it up by having more than one icon. But when you're using things like Event Viewer and stuff like that, if you're an admin and you want to get to them quickly instead of scrolling, having 2 shortcuts and the icon on the first screen is actually pretty cool, because I find myself actually using the start screen a lot, even though half the stuff I could pin to the taskbar, but I don't do that. I just go to the start screen. And it's cool too, because if you have a WeatherBug app or news app and you want to see the latest and greatest, you see it as you go to get to that icon. So I gotta say, I have grown to like the start screen. That's my personal opinion.
Hooray!
But so that's pretty much it. If you go out the text too, there are some other tips out there. For instance, if you use the SkyDrive app, the desktop version, I can't show it here. Well, maybe I can. No, I don't. I don't have it installed. There is a way to use junction points to point to folders you want to sync into your SkyDrive folder from outside of your SkyDrive folder. SkyDrive puts a folder in your My Docs where everything gets synced up to the cloud. If you have something outside of that folder you want synced, you can't really do it unless you drag it in. Well, you can use something called junction points, which are pointers to other locations. You put them in there, and voila, it gets synced. Of course, that uses up twice the space on that main computer where you're syncing, but it's useful. You don't have to move things. Check that out on tech-stew.com, how to use junction points with SkyDrive to sync folders outside of your SkyDrive sync folder. And incidentally, I've discovered where the Metro apps layout is located, at least where the icons are located. It's in a file called appsfolder.itemdata-ms, and that is in the user's default Microsoft Windows area. In that folder, somewhere in there, in your users folder under Microsoft Windows, you'll find the apps folder.itemdata-ms. If you search for that and you find it, you can then back that up, and then if you have another profile you want to have the same shortcuts on your start screen, copy it there. However, the order does not get preserved, unfortunately. It keeps the icons, but you got to reorder, and I haven't quite figured out how to keep the order preserved. There's probably another folder somewhere that contains that information. There are Windows X power commands. You'll like this one, maybe, James. Windows key X. Voila!
Windows key X.
And we
And
get
what does that?
gives you it's probably hard to see in the screen here, but you get things like programs and features, event viewer, device manager, command prompt, control panel, file explorer, run. Incidentally, you can pin the run command. If you open up a run box, then you can right click on run and say pin to the taskbar, and voila, you have a run box right in your taskbar.
Cool.
Useful little tip. And if your icons in the taskbar become blank sheets, white sheets, the fix often is to unpin them, open the app again, and then repin them. I found that to be the case. For some reason, certain apps, especially Office apps, like to go white. They just blank out and you don't see an icon for them. So the last and final tidbit here is that if you have managed to get your hands on a Microsoft media player key and you want to go back to Pro, they initially did release some keys. They made it nearly impossible to go back. There really is no obvious way, but I was able to find a way to do that. Basically, I took a VM, I installed Pro, and I found the keys in the HKey local machine software /Microsoft/Windows NT/current version, exported that whole key, and I also did the While64 key, but I don't think that was the key. I think it was the other one. I exported the current version key under the regular area, and then imported that into the MCE machine. And once I did that, I immediately ran the setup from the Pro disk, and I was able to undo the damage. It let me do an upgrade, an in-place upgrade, and MCE was gone. However, you lose things like log me in, VMware needs reinstalled, a few apps need reinstalled. It renames the Windows folder. That is the downside to it, but it is sort of possible to go back via an in-place upgrade and the little key trick if you have access to a Pro machine to get that key from it, the registry key rather. You have to use the registry editor. I'll probably put an article up on Textio on that, because there will be some people interested in that down the road, I'm sure. But let's move on to the science, and then the final tidbit, and wrap it up here for today. We're going to jump straight into the Mars rover, sending back amazing photos and the first human voice ever from Mars. Putting up a shot here. Take a look at that shot. That just blew my mind. It looks fake. I think an alien held up a sign there and a picture and said, "Here, the thing is taking." You know, that one picture you sent me. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah. But that's pretty cool just to know that that's coming from thousands and thousands of miles away. And
and it
on
looks
another
like
planet.
And you can see the erosion patterns here in the hill, or the geological formations basically on the mountainside there, looking like something straight out of Arizona or something like that. And in these pictures, if I'm not mistaken, these darker areas here, they changed the white balance in such a way that geologists here on Earth would have an easier time identifying certain rock formations and so forth on Mars. That's why they appear super contrasted almost. I believe that's what I read somewhere. But at any rate, NASA's rover Curiosity beamed home the first human voice ever sent from another planet. And it sent a greeting from NASA Administrator Charlie Bolden, who congratulated the mission team for getting the huge robot to Mars safely. NASA officials hope it presages a more substantial human presence on the red planet down the road. Unfortunately, they didn't put a microphone on this rover, which sucks. One of the previous ones, the Polar Lander, was supposed to have a microphone, but of course it blew up into a blaze of fire when it didn't land safely. It would be very cool to actually hear what Mars sounds like. They did have, I think, audio initially as it was landing. There's a source out there I'm sure you can find if you Google it. But so Curiosity is continuing its mission at Mars, and they also unveiled the 360-degree panoramic view, and that's what this guy is right here. this video taken mass camera on August 8th and 18th. And online, you can actually pan it left and right, and they show it moving left and right, which is pretty awesome. And I think in some of these images, we'll get to that in a second, you can see the UFOs and the artifacts that they have found of alien civilizations. If you're one of those fanatics who thinks that every picture contains an alien artifact. So for the next 2 years, it's going to... What's that?
Look over that hill and you can see somebody.
A little Martian sticking his head up over the hill. That's they're going to be heading over to the mountain over the next 2 years and explore the Gale crater. It moves very slowly. I think it's a half mile per hour or something. Heading towards Mount Sharp, which is like 10 or 12 miles away. So they've really zoomed it in here, I suppose. Most of the interesting objects, deposits lie about 6 miles from the rover's landing site as the crow flies. And what else? It's going to take them about a year, I believe it said, to get there. And it'd take the rover a month or two to reach Glenelg, a site 1,300 meters away with 3 different terrain types. They're going to do a bunch of tests there as well. Probably firing its laser again. Laser. But anyways, people are thinking that they've spotted UFOs. There's one there. It's a fish. He's in the sand.
Fish.
People will see whatever they want to believe, you know.
Exactly.
I see Jesus on my soap. And there, I don't know. It looks like a rock to me. Although, yeah, it kind of looks like a fish in a way.
I think I see Uncle Owen in the background.
But they've seen everything from flying saucers to you name it here, and most of this has turned out to be just dust kicked up or the sky crane flying away when it veered away 2,000 feet in the distance. In one case, they believe they caught the descent stage impact on the Martian surface, not a UFO. In another case, they thought they saw discs going across, and they were just dead pixels, according to NASA. Of course, that could just be the cover-up story right there. If you were able to blow that up, you'd see the 2 discs in the air. But yeah, they're probably just dead pixels.
Yeah. Now, is the crane still flying around in orbit, or was it?
Well, the crane was coming down on a parachute, and then it lowered the rover underneath of it, and it shooted. That's not a word. It shot off into the distance. It's late here on the East Coast. It shot off in the distance to avoid getting dust on the rover and crashed somewhere. And they have aerial shots of it where it crashed. But but let's move on to the next real topic of real alien planets. And this is the last of the sciencey ones here. The 2 alien planets were found that resemble Tatooine again, a system of like Tatooine anyway. They found 2 planets, in this case, orbiting 2 suns. To find more circumbinary planets, astronomers analyzed data from Kepler, which has detected more than 2,300 potential worlds since 2009. Kepler had to date detected 4 systems with circumbinary planets: Kepler 16, 34, 35, and 38. So they announced Kepler 47 with multiple worlds called Kepler 47b and 47c. Now, according to the one article, it says they're 5,000 light years away. When I looked on my little iPhone app, it said 3,800, so there's a discrepancy there somewhere. But at any rate,
just a little discrepancy.
It took at least 4,000 years for the light to reach us for them to detect these planets. So what we're seeing is, 4,000 years old, which is pretty awesome. And you can get a little look at the habitable zone of where these 2 planets are in this diagram. They're close enough that they're in the habitable zone, but they're not of the right type to be habitable, let's put it that way, and a comparison there with the Earth system. Pretty interesting stuff. It's exciting. It's a shame they're not probably habitable anyway. They think one of them is a gas giant. One of the stars is much like our sun. The other one's about the third of its size and 175 times fainter. And the inner and outer planets are respectively 3 and 4.6 times the Earth's diameter. And that is Kepler 47 and 47b and c. They always name the planets after the star. So Kepler 47, then 47b, 47c. So moving on into the RC and flight segment. Now, this week, instead of talking strictly about RC planes, which that would be kind of cool, I actually switched gears a little bit, and maybe we'll do this on a regular basis. And I wanted to talk a little bit about flight sims. Oh yeah, flight sims. So I don't know how much you've paid attention recently, James, but you know, of course, I have Flight Simulator X, and I've had it since 2006, and it's great. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And Microsoft just released back in, I think, February or March, MS Flight. But this is a bit of news here. Microsoft Flight was canceled. No more flights will be coming out of MS Flight. Well, actually, you can still download the free-to-play MS Flight, and you can even pay for some of the add-ons still. That's not going anywhere anytime soon. It was released in February, and according to inside chatter from developers on the project, they say it got pulled in 2 very different directions without a clear sense of direction, which ultimately led to its demise and low demand. It had a good flight model, though. A lot of pilots who tested MS Flight thought it was one of the most realistic feeling flights to date. You can kind of see some of it there in the little video playing.
So I wonder what were the 2 directions that they were?
Well,
was it like more flight simi,
according to
and
what
the other one was more action?
Yeah, it was more arcade in one direction, and the other direction was more external, or it was more internal. Like they wanted to have cockpits. There weren't enough cockpits at first, so they started developing more cockpit add-ons here towards the end. They got some other companies involved. They added the cockpits, and then they pulled the lid on the whole thing because the user base is down, and they viewed it as a failure. Originally, the Flight Simulator X team had like 150 people or more working behind them, plus all the add-on ability that it still has today. MS Flight was a much smaller group, and like I said, the third-party support was pretty limited till recently. And I tried it out. It wasn't... There's a review on Tech Stew. It wasn't very good. It was okay. It ran better on less hardware. That was the biggest feature. You could stick it on a laptop and actually have something usable. But not in the real... Not anything near what FSX was. The graphics were only about the same, if maybe not quite as good in some cases. You'd think it would be better with DirectX 10 and 11, but at any rate, MS Flight has canceled. But the other one that is big out there is Prepare 3D. Prepare for 3D. And it is pretty fantastic, actually. If you've looked at it on the internet and checked it out, it is basically built on FSX as the base core. Microsoft originally had a product called ESP, and it was their professional product, and Prepare 3D is the next version of that supports DirectX 10 and I think 11 now too, newer shaders and so forth. And you can see in the video that it looks pretty awesome. I gotta say, that actually looks better than Flight Simulator X, but it's limited. There aren't as many planes. The add-ons are pretty low. They don't have very much add-on support, third-party support at this point, but they've only been around for a few years, I believe, and they're expensive. $199 for Pro, and
wow.
$50 for a student license, $50. But that, I believe, is $50 a year. And if you're a developer, you can check it out for like $10 a month. If you want to just try it out one time, it's a $10 fee, I think, for a month too as well. Same kind of thing. They all come with their own set of features, and I think they even give you like online training and stuff like that, which is actually kind of cool. But it's pretty darn stunning, at least the shading models that they're using. Now, you see that now. Now, here is FSX. Well, X-Plane 10 is the other one. Unfortunately, I didn't get any X-Plane 10 examples here, but it is also pretty awesome and growing in support. for X-Plane 10. They've been around a while, and a lot of people are starting to switch over to X-Plane 10. But FSX is still here to stay for a while.
That's a weird name for a flight sim. Prepare 3D.
Yeah, are you prepared? I think is the way they term it. Now, see this video here is Orbex. Orbex makes a lot of awesome add-on scenery. In this case, this is the Pacific Northwest scenery, which I have, and it is it looks really good too. Maybe not quite as sharp as the Prepare 3D, but it's really good, and it performs really well. It doesn't even have to use DirectX 10. It's still running on DirectX 9 and looks halfway decent. Lots of add-ons. They have gigabytes worth that you can get. Pacific Northwest. There's the Pacific or the Colorado Mountains, Northern Colorado Mountains. You can get the Australian add-on and so forth. And there's a whole bunch of other add-ons out there for Flight Sim. You can literally install 500 gigs worth and fill your hard drive or more if you really wanted to. FSX is a great product.
The one photo, was that a photo of you flying down by a car, or is that, can you drive a car in that?
Yeah, in some cases you can actually get out and move around your plane with something called Bob with Orbex, which I actually installed it. It's a free, I can't remember. It's a utility, an add-on. It's basically a plane. You pick that, and you pick your main plane, and you can go and walk around your plane or the buildings in the area, take screen grabs, shoot video, and so forth, like they've done here in some cases. And then you could start the main plane up and let it fly, and then you can take Bob and move Bob around the plane, take a look at the engines, moving turbines and propellers, and do some pretty fantastic shots with Bob. It's Orbex FTX fullterrain.com, and in my case, I'm running an i7 2600K, and 3.6 is the base gigahertz, but I have upped it to 4.6. I was at 4.8, but I had some issues recently, so I lowered it back down to 4.6. I run 3 screens, use a track IR device for head tracking, and the 5850 ATIs, just one of them rather, and it does very well. I get 30 to 50 frames per second in most Orbex areas. Seattle tanks a little bit. I get down in the mid-20s, but most other areas are 40 plus with my setup. Works really well. And that's even it's even with Rex, and that's the new awesomeness is Rex Essential. Rex Essential was released, and if you don't know what Rex is, it's called Real Environment Extreme. One of the many add-ons that you really should get for Flight Simulator. And Rex Essential is an improvement over Rex 1, Rex 2, and Rex Overdrive. They've made the flight or the weather engine like significantly more improved. There's better transitions between areas and so forth, so you're not shifted in winds, doing weird things, going from one section to another. A whole host of features. We can dig into the actual settings sometime of what people are using, but it's pretty beautiful. The clouds are really awesome. And
do you run all these at the same time, or you have to pick and choose?
You run them all at the same time. Like Rex is an add-on that's always there. It updates your textures, and like there's another one called UTX Ultimate Terrain, like the USA one. You run that, and that updates your textures for your roads and so forth. Orbex is a scenery add-on, and that just adds scenery areas to your flight sim. And Rex Essential is pretty awesome. They're going to come out with a overdrive for it. Right now, the Essentials is only $39, and you'll get overdrive when it comes out. It'll have 256 Cirrus, 192 3D Cumulus, Stratus clouds, 2 sets of asphalt runways, 1 set of concrete runways, and 9 sets of asphalt taxiways, and a bunch of other things, a bunch of add-ons to increase the overall experience. And as you can see in the images, it's great. It doesn't quite capture the penetration of cloud penetration when you're flying into a cloud, according to most pilots, but they're still working on it, and they say they're coming close to actually making that seem more realistic. What I have yet to try, though, I want to do this soon. So I want to shoot this on my 61 instead of my 324s. And I want to turn on the 3D glasses and see, well, A, if it can handle it, because it usually requires twice the load. Might end up with 15 frames a second or something, but just put the glasses on and see how it looks in 3D in the other room using the Tridef driver, which works really well on PC.
That would be nice.
But the final little FSX thing here, and this is really the app of the week, ending the show here, is we'll just call it VATSIM, because if you're an FSX person and you fly a lot, you probably use VATSIM. Now, VATSIM is where all the pilots fly in VATSIM. It's pretty regulated. You have to file flight plans and contact the tower with your headset before you take off. It's pretty much simulating the real deal. They take it pretty seriously there. They don't want people crashing into each other deliberately and so forth. But I can actually show you the app here. Hold on one second. The VATSIM viewer for iPhone and Android. They have the Android app you can install. I gotta turn on my streamer. See, this is the second part of the show. I wanted to mention the app. Another app of the week is VENCY for iPhone, and it's only on a jailbroken phone, I believe. VENCY, and it allows you to use a VNC client to view your iPhone and control your iPhone from another computer. So in this case, I'm actually logging into my iPhone. There we go. And the picture you see on the screen now is a screenshot of VATSIM. But here we go. Whoop, no, wrong screen. Hold on. Let me get the VAT viewer up. There we go. That's more like it. So there is the VAT viewer, and here you can see the controllers who are online right now, and you can go to the map and see who's online. Those are controllers that are online, people that you can communicate with if you're flying in those regions. If you don't have a controller to talk to, you contact a generic person or something, and then you take off. I forget how it works. But you can view the people. That's the controller map. Now I switch to the people map. And look at that. Those are all the pilots flying in VATSIM right now online. I can click on a pin and it'll bring up their name, their call sign, the pilot's actual name. They require to use your real name, and their flight plan if one exists, which they should exist, current altitude and so forth. You can check out what they're doing and so forth. You can also look up airports if you know the ICAO code. So let's see, I can't think of it. Coors, Orcas Island. If I look up that, if it's out there, it must not be. I don't know why it wouldn't be.
So try ORF.
Oh, there's Allentown, PA, for instance. And you can see the METAR data for Allentown. And latitude, longitude, and all the flights nearby. Nobody taking off and landing. Of course, this is all virtual. Well, we're talking virtual here. We could go on and on with Flight Sim. There's all kinds of stuff related to Flight Sim, but we'll save that for future.
Is everybody all on one network, or is it there separate, I guess, shards to this?
There's multiple servers out there, I guess. So you load the IP address of the server closest to you. But yeah, it's basically one big network, the VATSIM network. And check it out on the VATSIM. If you Google VATSIM, you'll find it out there. And read the manual before taking off. Make sure you're in a parking spot if you're just going to sit and listen. Because you can sit and listen to people talking back and forth and stuff. It's kind of cool. Go to a populated area, pull into a parking location for your plane, and sit and listen. A lot of people are using TeamSpeak 3.0 too for plane-to-plane communication beyond the VATSIM talk. Incidentally, that's a side note, but maybe next time we'll talk about some other apps for Flight Sim. But that was pretty much it. Those are the picks and tips and flight sim of the week, because we did them all in one shot and as part of the main show. There was one other thing. I don't know if you've seen this. I'll just flop this up on the screen real quick. This is the Harmony cartridge for Atari. It takes an SD disc, and you can put it in your Atari and load it up with all your emulated copies of the Atari games, and voila. Choose from a menu and play whatever's on there. It's pretty cool. So if you got 100 Atari games, you just put them in one cartridge, and that's the Harmony cartridge. You can find that online at harmony.atariage.com.
That's still if you still have your Atari handy.
Yeah, if you have the Atari. I think it's a 2600 console. Mm-hmm. So that is about it. That is going to wrap up today's show. And there we are again. Haha. Live on split screen.
There we are.
So that's going to wrap up today's show. And remember to keep on cooking with tech. And we will see you next time on Text2.
Why is Dylan's name up there?
I don't know.
Take Dylan's name down.
The exit music is playing now. Hey, we're still live. See you next time on Text2.